We ought to start just broadcasting the pre-show because people miss out on all the good stuff. I mean, we had inappropriate jokes. We had the concept of a TCF ASMR that was just discussed, which I think Michael would have to host. Yeah. You do that almost too well. You run a secret ASMR channel, don't you?
Shh, don't tell anybody. Okay. They're all going to find out and spam it. Oh,
is that your dirty little secret?
Wouldn't that be the whole idea is to have them find it?
Yeah. Well, I don't want it to get too popular because then, I mean, it's dangerous.
No, you said the popular. So you just said popular. Now I'm going to have popular stuck in my head. Thank you, Michael.
Oh, well.
Popular. Go on. Ignore me.
Oh,
no, you need to know what you did.
So I'm thinking Thursday's sidebar topic, though, should be Michael's dirty secrets. That could be fun.
As long as the statute limitations have expired.
Yeah, we have Ashley's dark thoughts and Mike's dirty secrets.
Well, let's put them over on the Discord and see how they play, and then we'll go.
Dan's inappropriate jokes. And
you laughed.
Oh,
or rolled your eyes or something.
Of course I laughed. Inappropriate jokes are the best jokes.
They are.
And then Austin, I don't know. Austin's innocent and sweet. He's just nice. Austin's just nice.
Austin is nice.
He is.
I don't know.
We'll keep working on
him.
We'll corrupt him eventually, but welcome to Sidebar, everybody.
Yeah, now that we're 2 minutes in, hi.
Hi.
There's your little taste of the pre-show.
Did you guys miss me last week?
I rolled over a little bit.
We did actually, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Keeping these guys in line is difficult without you. You need like one of us on each side, just kind of keeping the herd together here.
Extra bad behavior when Mike's not here.
Well, I've seen how you behave when I'm not here.
Well,
it's pretty frightening as well.
We were told not to talk about that.
No, that's true. All right.
I signed an NDA. I didn't see anything.
You weren't part of it when I was gone, though.
No, that's true.
So, yeah.
Ooh.
So you skate away, but so what?
So speaking of bad behavior, Daniel.
Yes.
Tonight's topic kind of goes into, well, as most things in LawTube eventually will, and that's bad behavior, but bad behavior and how it is punished. Poverty and punishment. That's sort of the topic here for tonight, as I understand it.
That is the topic. Thank you for that wonderful professional transition from our silliness, Michael.
Well,
thank God you're here.
And that's all I bring to the table. And now,
good night, everybody,
fellas.
Oh no, you're not getting off scot-free today because you have to make up for Thursday.
Okay.
Now that we're 4 minutes in and have driven away almost everybody.
Okay.
No, it's all good. So, yeah, so talking about poverty when it comes to justice and the idea of it seems like it's the poor that are hit the hardest. Probation fees, fines, costs of counsel, bail, all these things that they have to try to cover if they find themselves in a legal situation. There was a Judge Stevens that we watched the other day where I think it was probably appropriate what he said, but the guy wasn't working and Stevens went off on him like, I'm not paying for your lawyer. You need to figure out a way to pay.
Yep.
And I think Stevens probably made some assumptions there, but still, at the end of the day, you've got people who really can't afford to be in the legal system but find themselves in the legal system. So, is that a form of punishment in and of itself? Now, Ashley, this was your topic idea tonight. So do you have a place where you would like to start that discussion?
I guess we can start at bail, actually.
Okay.
As we all know, bail kind of is a little bit different per each court and per each punishment. So yeah, let's start there and see what kind of shenanigans we can get into with that.
Okay. Well, do you have something specific about bail that's hitting you as problematic?
Yes, it is problematic because bail affects like people with money differently than people that don't have that much money, or it allows people that have the money to get out and enjoy life while waiting for their sentence, versus the people that cannot afford bail and has to stay in prison and therefore risking their jobs, their and there's like, and sometimes housing too, because they can't provide for themselves. And so that's kind of why I think this is a problem.
Yeah, I think even more than people with money benefiting, people with assets.
Yep.
Yeah.
You know, if you can put your house up against the bond, stuff like that.
Houses, cars,
Yep.
planes. Yeah.
Where, you know, I don't know what the current percentage is, but it keeps dropping every year, the just amount of Americans who actually own a home. You know, to be able to have that asset to help bail them out.
Yep.
So that in and of itself is a problem.
Well,
But should,
Dan,
but should you even have to put your assets up for bail is another thing too. So what were you going to say, Michael? I'm curious.
well, I was just going to say, you know, the interesting part about this too is it's kind of a double whammy, because if you have the assets, if you have the resources, not only can you bond out, bail out, you also can afford an attorney that may be able to get your bond reduced and your bail reduced.
True.
So, you know, there's built-in advantages, and we can pretend we have this. Some people have this Pollyanna idea that the justice system is equal and it's fair and in theory, of course it is, but how things are in theory and how they play out in reality are two very different things. And yeah, it is not, if you want to commit crimes, I would suggest that you be wealthy, because that's how you're going to be able to bond out. That's how you're going to be able to afford the better attorney. Not that there aren't good court-appointed advisors or good court-appointed attorneys, but there are, I'm sorry, but, you know, paid legal counsel is always going to be preferred. They'll be able to devote more resources, more time, because they have that. They take on a certain number of clients and that's it. They're not forced upon them. They're not juggling 172 different defendants. You know, they have the ability, they have a team of people, some of these law firms, that can do investigations. And so it's, you know, being poor. And when I say poor, I'm even going to, I'll even lump the middle class in, really. Mm-hmm. If you're not part of like the top 10%, good luck if you find yourself in the throes of, and we're not talking misdemeanors, but even misdemeanors can get pretty expensive, depending. So, and that's the other aspect to this is not only that, but then, we talked about it just a minute ago, the fines, the fees, and all this, which takes away from, if there is restitution to be paid, you're paying court fees over here first, and, you know, the fines, and then you're going to get to the restitution, and you better hope that you don't go to jail, because then it'll affect your employment possibilities. So, yeah, it's more than even a double whammy. It's like a triple whammy effect.
Yeah, exactly, Michael. What was my point? I had a point here. It was that the bail bondsman, for the states that do allow bail bondsmen as well, you have to at least pay usually 10% upfront to bail bondsmen. And if those people can't even meet that 10%, they're pretty much stuck in there until their trial. And I don't know. I just don't feel like it's not fair.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the legal system just like so many things, you could compare it to healthcare, for example. The
Yeah.
costs of it are just completely out of control.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, you're talking $400 or $500 an hour for a decent lawyer. You know, if you find yourself in a felony situation. And I doubt, I don't want to speak for the rest of you, but I'm making educated guesses. I'm doubting any of the four of us, if we found ourselves in that kind of situation, would be able to survive it financially.
No.
Definitely.
Well, now,
It does depend.
hang
on
on
the
a
bail
second,
amount.
not to
Don't
brag.
show off, Michael.
Not to brag, but hang
if
on
it
a
was
second.
like $50,000 bail or something like
Guys,
that. Yeah, of course not.
I got $20.
That's actually more in your
So-
wallet than I have. So
You mean you have 75 cents and your attorney's got 19.25?
Yeah.
Well, okay. Let's take it another direction then. What about
Yeah.
plea deals then? Because we keep talking about plea deals and how there's so many plea deals. With someone that
Yeah.
doesn't have enough financial backing, more opt to take a plea deal to avoid attorney fees and court fees, for that matter. And I think so. I think it has a bad effect there as well.
yeah, you almost have to. It becomes a financial decision for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's gonna get me through this the quickest? What's gonna get me out of it the quickest? And we can easily say, well, the person did it and they're guilty, so they deserve what's coming to them. And there's part of me that gets that argument,
No.
but in the same respect,
They're
No, I lost
considered
my train of thought.
innocent.
Well,
They're considered innocent
you're
until
considered
proven
innocent
guilty.
until proven guilty.
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, and it's
So-
not, I know that the main focus of this topic, crime, punishment, poverty, is on the criminal aspect, but there's the civil aspect too, because, if you get screwed over by somebody, and, you have a good case, you still need to hire an attorney. And, so even in a civil case, a civil matter where you probably could prevail, you still have to be able to afford the attorney. And I'm not talking small claims, because small claims, there are no attorneys in small claims court. But I mean, I'm talking about if, you're $50,000, $60,000, $80,000, $100,000 or more, kind of cases, that's going to be tough, because how are you going to afford that attorney unless they're going to take your case? It's one of those attorneys that takes your case and then takes the money out of the settlement or whatever. But yeah, so it's not just for criminals. It's I guess the bottom line is,
Across the board.
I hate to bury the closing to the show or put it right here in the middle, but sucks to be poor.
Yeah, definitely. And I feel like not being able to make bail also impacts families too. The children involved with these people that are held without or with bond, with bond, but cannot make that payment, that they might lose custody of their children. Impact, and you know how hard it is to get your children back after you lose custody. So that's also another aspect of this as well.
And then there's family court.
Yeah.
Yep.
And
Or even criminal family court, it doesn't really matter. It all kind of is the same.
It's the same. Yeah.
well, because what happens in many states, so if you lose custody, or if there's just a custody dispute, so while you don't have to hire an attorney in family court, while that is not necessary, it is definitely going to improve your chances of potentially prevailing.
Yes.
Plus, in many cases, when you have children, they also have what's called a court-appointed advisor that you have to get, or
guardian ad litem,
or guardian ad litem, whatever. They're called different things in different places, and those people, the court makes you and the opposing party pay for that, and they cost roughly $1,000 or so. And if, you're somebody that's making, $30, $40, $50,000 a year, $1,000, pretty good chunk of change. I mean, even if you're making more than that, $1,000 just for that service. And then there's other fees and other things that get tacked on in family court too. So it's, again, on all levels, this is, this started out as a criminal discussion, but this goes to, family court, civil court, any sort of aspect where you're interacting with the justice system. It is an expensive proposition.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's, I don't know, you tell people, well, if you can't afford to commit the crime, then don't commit the crime. The old, if you can't, don't do the crime if you can't do the time, that sort of thing. And I get that, but it's becoming harder and harder just to pay bills and make your way through society right now. So those who traditionally would not be categorized as poor are still living on the edge.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then there are more and more laws being passed. I didn't talk to you guys about this, but before the show, and maybe I'll cover it tomorrow, I was going through reading through some new gun legislation that they're proposing in Virginia.
Oh boy.
If it passes, based on just what I own, or at least what I did own until I took them out and had that horrible boating accident on Lake Pleasant, and they all ended up in the bottom of the lake. But assuming that I still owned all of those, I'd be a felon. Because they're throwing in these laws that are now so strict. But my point there, though, is that we keep passing laws that make for more and more criminal behavior that you can get caught up in. And,
That's a good point.
I think this becomes an even bigger problem than just, homeless guy on the street getting caught up and he doesn't have money to deal with his stuff.
Right.
It's moving. It's moving into the middle class now because the middle class is falling apart. And then again, you've got more and more laws being introduced because for some reason we decided as a society that laws are a good thing. We need more of them. So,
well,
I think what we're talking about here is a bigger issue every day.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like they want to assess, registration fees and licensing fees and all this for guns and for everything else.
Yep.
And it's a way to fill the government's coffers or the state coffers or the whatever. But I think it's inherently a tax on the poor and the middle class because the rich don't care. Okay? Rich people don't really care. If you've got $10 million in the bank, $150 fee for your gun is not a big a deal.
Right.
But, you start tacking all this stuff on and, the purpose of it is, again, it's we don't have a poor person's tax per se. I mean, we always claim that, our system, favors we tax the more wealthy people. But do we really? I mean, do we really when everything has to have a fee, and if you don't pay that fee, then there's additional fees.
Yep.
There's additional fees, or there could be criminal charges, and then we get back into the other circle that we were just talking about, how you have to hire an attorney, and so it's this self-perpetuating BS.
Yep.
That we have now.
Yes.
So
I was trying to think of a way to solve this issue with at least to bail. I'm like,
I don't mean to laugh, but just the idea of solving it is laughable.
Yep.
Unless you got, and I'm not saying that against you because you're brilliant. But I don't know that you can solve for X on this one.
Well, in terms of bail, anyway, I think that they should do away with cash bail, maybe. And maybe they should only stick with risk-based bail.
Yep.
I have heard arguments in favor of that, certainly. In fact, we may have even discussed that very topic here to at least a certain degree
A certain degree.
I think
yeah.
we did.
about kind of cutting back on or eliminating cash bail.
Yep.
And that's maybe one step, but then the risk-based, who assesses the risk? And then do you have to pay to have that risk assessment done?
Exactly.
Again,
undoubtedly. There'll be a
everything
risk assessment fee.
right. Everything comes down to, there's no such thing as a free lunch. There's no such thing as a free court case. And again, innocent until proven guilty. But in order to make sure that you are innocent and that you can, afford your innocence, innocence comes at a price.
Well, I did have a backup option,
Okay.
and that is the sliding scale fees. So,
Okay.
how about people that don't have as much assets or don't have, they didn't do anything atrocious or anything like that? What if they pay less than those that make more money or have more assets?
So
I don't think
Ashley,
that would hold up in court.
I think that would go against the 14th Amendment.
Yep.
Let me just say this. I don't disagree. Long ago on a podcast far away, I proposed that if we wanted to make enforcement of the law even-handed, and so that rich people wouldn't get away with, because a speeding ticket to a rich person means nothing. A $400, or how we here in Arizona, we have what are called HOV lanes, high occupancy vehicle lanes, and you have to have two people in the car in order to use them. And if you don't, it's a $400 fine. It may be rarely enforced, but it is enforced occasionally. But rich people, they don't care, because a $400 fine, again, to a guy that makes $500,000 a year is a joke. But what if instead, the average person or the average income is 60,000. So for a guy that makes 600,000, we just multiply that by 10. And then we're going to make that guy pay more. The problem is, again, you run into a constitutional issue, but even beyond that, I just don't think that, I don't know how effective it would really be anyway. In theory, though, I like the idea.
Yeah.
It's just that
But the
it
thing,
is sort of contradictory to, justice being blind.
It's questionable. It is questionable, just because that you're giving, if you don't give enough to somebody to make them hurt in a way, it doesn't keep them from doing an actual thing. But this is bail, so this
Right.
is not
And
restitution or anything.
Bail is not supposed to be punishment.
No, it's
Nope,
not.
it's
supposed
only
to be.
supposed
But
to
it is.
ensure the.
But it
But
is.
that's what they're making.
Defendants.
That's how they're making it out to be, though, as punishment, which is.
And
something
we
I don't
see
agree with.
judge after judge explain this concept every time. Bail is not supposed to be punishment. But then what do? Well, if,
Bail set at $500,000.
right.
Yeah.
If you argue with the judge, and
Goes up.
which judge was it? I think it was Judge West, who was like, "You're going to argue with me while I'm setting your bond," or maybe it was Judge Stevens. And
That was West.
I'll raise your bond, and it's supposed to ensure that the person shows up to court.
Right.
Yes.
And the safety of the community. And
Right. Well,
things
yeah,
like
and
that.
obviously the
But,
safety of the
yeah.
community, but it's not supposed to be, well, I argued with the judge, so now they're going to impose, a higher bond on me.
Yeah.
Yes.
How you handle someone that wants to argue with you and be a shit in court is you hit them with contempt.
Yeah.
Yep.
But judges don't want to do that because that's extra paperwork, and they rarely do that. But
And they're worried about
I
a
don't
heavy
even think
hand
they
for
should be
something small.
Yeah, and I don't even.
well,
think
then you
they
have
should
also
be
have to have a
allowed.
contempt hearing.
Yep.
And that takes up more of the court's time, and that's why they generally don't want to do it either, because they already have full dockets as is. Then you have to have yet another hearing. But
Look at that one case we saw in the fight in Stevens' courtroom.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, the
Where-
fight out in the hallway.
Yeah.
It turned
Yep.
into basically the whole rest of that day, and then they still had to come back on another day for the rest of it.
Yep.
For the fight in the hallway.
Although that was one that was kind of warranted. I mean, that's one of those.
Right.
This
But
isn't
I'm
just a
saying
little
it's
mouthy with the judge. This is like
a physical
you get into a
assault.
full-on brawl out,
Yeah.
just outside the courtroom. I mean, something has to be
Right.
dealt with.
I was just
you
saying
know.
how it changed.
But right, I get what you're saying.
Entire day.
Yep. Oh, it sure did.
Yep.
And his demeanor, and he
Yeah.
I would
certainly
not
was.
have wanted to be the next defender.
Oh no! I would not have wanted to be on the lower part of the docket that day. No.
But yeah, going back to bail concept really quick. I just don't. I feel like bail should not be life destroying, and it destroys lives on a daily basis, and it shouldn't be like that. And there's not a like great thing except for just to do away with it, I guess, in my opinion.
Well, yeah, but that only solves part of the problem, though, because you still have the problem of having to afford your lawyer, to having to afford the fees and the fines and everything that you're going to encounter.
I think that people
to potentially losing your job if your employer does not want to continue to employ you while you're going through the process.
Yeah.
Even if you're innocent.
Yeah.
Perhaps
Yeah.
perhaps people with a lower income threshold should be allowed a lawyer.
Well,
generally they are.
generally they are,
A
and
public defender, yeah.
but even there, in many states, they still have to pay at least some of that back, even if they're found not guilty, even if they're, or the charges against them are dismissed outside of an outright dismissal. If part of the case is dismissed and then part is pled out,
Yep.
they still pay at least a small portion of the public defender fee or whatever that's called in various states.
So
Yeah.
sorry, Michael, go ahead.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
I was going to say, I pulled up what they have to pay, a defendant would have to pay here in Wisconsin for public defenders. And they basically have two options. They can either, a person can either pay it. It's a $240 fine if you pay it when the bill comes in, versus if you pay it beforehand, it's a $60 bill for misdemeanors. They don't post what the felony and other public defender fees are in Wisconsin, unfortunately. So I couldn't find that one.
That doesn't seem that bad.
That's true. No.
I get
No,
people have to
unless-
get paid, but
Unless you're innocent, in which case I don't want to be
Yeah.
paying a dime.
right.
Right.
Very true.
And we can
Maybe-
look. Is the majority of people that end up in court, are they guilty? Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
But there's
Probably.
just still the percentage that is not, and
Right.
their lives can be changed because of it, especially if they don't have money. It's changed even worse. I've been thinking about this a lot. This broad kind of theme that I'm going to throw in front of you, and I've been thinking about it in other areas of our society right now. But the word is sustainability.
Right.
I'm not convinced that our legal system, as it is currently constructed, is sustainable.
I don't think so.
Because we keep making more and more laws, things keep getting more and more expensive, more and more people in the system. How do you sustain this? We incarcerate more people than most other countries on a per capita basis.
Yes.
How?
Yeah.
We ruin so many lives. Now you can say that it's because Americans are a bunch of poo-poo heads who act poorly and they're getting what they deserve. And maybe, however, again, we have so many laws that you can get caught up on all sorts of technicalities, or you break one law, but they'll charge you with 7 different things just to make sure they find one that sticks, because we've got 7, 8 different laws that cover the one thing that you did.
Yep. Or they'll charge you with like the main thing. I'm going to use murder for example. If they can't get you for murder, they may get you for manslaughter or
Right.
assault or something else too.
Yep.
Right. It's stacking charges, which we've talked about here before. You know, it's a fascinating thing because, Dan, you say it's not sustainable. Well, it's certainly sustainable for the lawyers. I mean, they're always going to, you know, they've built this industry, and who winds up being legislatures often, and that's, or legislators, and that is lawyers. So they write the laws, they practice the law in the court system, you know, and sometimes they become governors, so they sign off on the laws. So yeah, it's a system that for them is certainly sustainable, but for society at large, at least here in the U.S., I don't know how long it is sustainable because, you know, Judge Boyd talks about how, you know, they'll always have money to build more prisons. But will they? I mean, how many more prisons are we going to build?
Well, we got a bunch sitting empty already. We don't necessarily need to build them.
Yep.
The feds are sitting on multiple facilities that have nobody in them.
Right. But I mean, that's the thing is, you know, my point is that we have so many people already in the system, in jail, in county jails or in prisons. You know, and with conceivably more laws being written all the time, that number, you know, theoretically is going to just keep going up. So, you know, and how long is that going to? How long are we going to be able to do that before we have some sort of upheaval?
Yeah, and they even have people in prison that didn't really. They could not afford something for fines and fees. They sometimes put those people in prison too.
Well, there's a lot of people that sit waiting for trial too, and then there's that aspect as well. And then some of those people are found to be not guilty. As my light goes out again, some of those people are found to be not guilty. We'll have to go low tech here. So stupid.
Should people that are convicted not guilty be paid back for things that they paid into? Is another interesting standpoint too.
Well, there's that. And then there's also the idea that, look, if you're not guilty, you shouldn't have to pay any of those fees. Yeah. Should you, dare I even suggest, should you be reimbursed for the time that you sat in jail when you were found not guilty?
Right.
For example, there's been multiple cases that I've watched where someone was put in prison for murder. And they were put in prison back before DNA, and then they spend 25 years in prison.
Right.
And then they go, oh, whoopsie. Hey, you know, we found the DNA. Turns out you were actually innocent. Oops. Well, anyway, our apologies, man. Anyway, out into society with you. Have a good one. What happens there?
I know this one guy got like a gift card for 10 meals at In-N-Out.
Yep.
So, you know, I'm
not going to put that down. That is a good deal.
Yeah. I mean, that's
I remember
25 years.
One guy, I think he served 15 or 20, was found not guilty, or DNA found him not guilty, and they gave him a bus pass home. And then when he got home, he had to pay some fee to the bus driver. And it was like, what? So it's like
Not
they
surprising.
give you the card, and then the card's worthless. And you've already gotten to your destination, so you have to pay.
Oh, no.
That's outstanding.
Yeah.
Why am I not surprised? Why does none of this surprise me?
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is such a big issue. This is such, and we could certainly go down the road of there's a lot of people that are in prison that
it would help them not to be poor though, if they're paid
Yeah.
back for things that they
You're
might
right,
have
Ashley.
paid in.
Just you know what? You're right. Just make more money, assholes. Just make more money. Yeah. Pro tip. If you don't want to find yourself in prison, or if you don't want to have to pay all these legal fees and find yourself struggling, just be born into wealth or make money somehow.
Now,
There's the solution.
I will say that I'm going to walk a little bit of a different line here, and I will say there is something to be said by pulling yourself up by the bootstraps kind of mentality. Finding ways to make it work as best you can.
Sure.
Two things can be true at once. I think the system is broken and not sustainable and ruins people. Yep. I also think that so much of society does not do a good enough job of figuring things out. They settle for where they are rather than trying to work to get a little bit better all the time. And perhaps a lot of people see it and go, well, I'll never be a millionaire, so I quit. And the reality is, for most people, you have to work yourself up incrementally. Mm-hmm. So I'm just saying, I think there's a large percentage of people that also aren't doing enough to improve their situation in life.
I'll agree with that. I mean,
two things true at once, though.
I mean, I won't agree with that universally, but I would definitely agree with that on a broad basis. Yes.
It's not universal. I mean, there's some people that just, because of their lot in life, just aren't going to be able to get into a position where they can do better. Right. But I do think there's a lot of people that are lazy.
Sure.
That have just got it in their heads that it can't be better. They're not going to try, whatever the case may be, but they have the ability.
But
I think that should be taken into account too. Yeah.
But here's the problem, Dan.
Point.
Here's the problem, Dan. Some people, and we have seen this, they get caught up in the justice system for whatever reason, and it can happen to almost anybody. And even if you're not guilty, it can still cost you a boatload. Let's say you're one of those people. You are working hard. You did pull yourself up by your bootstraps. You're still though, you're a middle class person that lives, like many people, either paycheck to paycheck, or maybe you got a little bit of money saved up, but you're not living high on the hog. And then suddenly you find yourself in court, or you find yourself in a civil case, or you find yourself in a family court case, which, is for this example might be the most, the best example we could use. And you find yourself there, and now whatever little money you had saved, that just goes so fast in this system. Yep. And so
I'd rather be in a felony court than a family court, because at least in a felony court I might get a public defender.
Yes. No, it's true. It's true. And
and it'd be less stressful.
It would be, for sure. And I think the system in felony court is a lot more fair. It's a lot more equitable than it is in family court.
Yep.
Judges are rotated into family court. Many of them don't want to be there. And the ones that do want to be there are the ones I'm actually more worried about than the ones that don't. Because the ones that want to be there, generally, they want to be there because they can lord over it and, and dispense their version of morality. And, I've seen it before, a judge just, they're pro mother, they're pro father, but they're not pro family. They're just they're incompetent, and they're often appointed to the position. Not saying I know any of this from any personal experience or any experience from anybody I know. I'm not saying that, but I am saying that if I did, there's probably a couple of judges in Arizona that really shouldn't have been there that might have been appointed by the current governor, and they're terrible. Theoretically, of course.
Yeah.
I speak in theories here.
Broad generalizations.
Yes.
Yeah, of course.
Yes.
I also have many broad generalizations that maybe someday I'll share on that matter. So
I swear, maybe this is a Dan and Mike show topic, but I'm telling you, Dan, one day, the can's gonna get opened up on that aspect of it, on just family court. It's got to. It has to. We have to blow the doors off of that. But it does tie into all this. Again, it sucks to be there. And by the way, in family court, you know who really suffers the most, and that is the children.
The kid. Yep.
Two parents, and again, we can say, well, then you shouldn't have had kids if you can't get along. And okay, great, neat. Put your utopian ideals aside for a minute and step back into the world of reality. Sometimes people change. Sometimes a marriage or a relationship isn't sustainable for whatever reason. People just can't always make it work. And sometimes the best thing to do for the children, especially if there's an abusive relationship or whatever, is to step away, is to get away from it. Yeah. And the thing is that you may have saved up for your child to have that college education. You may have saved for their future. And it can just be evaporated that quickly by the family court system. And that sucks. That's just part of the problem. And again, you can represent yourself. Yes, you can. There's resources to help you do that in family court, but there's so many pitfalls, and you don't want to make a mistake. And then if you do make a mistake, you might have to pay for the opposing party's attorney fees and all this.
Yep. So
it's a system that's set up to make money for the lawyers and for everybody, but it's not for you.
Well, Michael, I'm going to push back just a little bit since we got down the family court rabbit hole.
Sure.
Because I agree with you that it's like the worst place in the world. It's worse than a day at Disney World.
Yeah, I would rather.
Horrible.
Yeah.
But isn't so much of that on the two so-called adults that decided to separate? Because they could do it amicably. They could navigate that system for very minimal costs, but one or both has to be an ass about it. And then the next thing you know, the kid's college fund is spent on lawyers. So I will say, and just a bit of a pushback here, I think especially for the poor, that's a controllable one. Much more than getting picked up on some kind of charge.
It is ish. But again, the court-appointed advisors and some of the other fees that they do tack on, sometimes there's supervision fees and all this stuff. And that, while not as expensive as a lawyer, still can be pricey.
Yeah, but it's more controllable is my point.
It is.
People just act like an adult,
Well, I get that.
It kind of depends on them how long they're going to drag that out for the most part.
And that's the other thing is family court cases. Many people probably think that they go fast.
Oh no, they're so
very, very rarely are matters dealt with within a matter of weeks or even a couple of months. Normally, a single case drags out for more than a year,
right?
And sometimes two.
Well, look, I had a divorce earlier in my life, and that was in Michigan, and we had children. And Michigan law, I don't know how it is in other places, and I don't intend to find out because I'm not getting divorced again because I got the right one this time. However, there was a 6-month pause on everything just because of the fact that there were children. Now, there was still legal back and forth if people wanted to fight about stuff, but no divorce would be granted at least until you hit the 6-month mark in the hopes that you'll reconcile. So, yeah, it's drawn out just because.
Interesting.
So yeah, there's like this huge waiting period, and unfortunately,
the dumbest thing I've ever heard of in my life.
And unfortunately, my ex decided that it would be a great idea to just lob stupidity at me and, rack up the bill. For what? We weren't millionaires. It's not like we were fighting over the Ferrari here. But, and the way that was set up, it gave it time for that to happen.
The longer it goes, it extends, the more it hurts the children, though. So I don't understand why that
is
be.
the dumbest.
Mm-hmm. Oh, it's stupid. But I get what the lawmaker who put that in. I get where they were trying to go. Where they were trying to go was obviously they were obviously never married. Cool down. But let's give things time to cool down and maybe they'll reconcile.
I can see
and
that.
Save it for the kids. Now, my personal belief in that is to do away with no-fault divorce. But that's just me, and that's another topic for another sidebar. But yeah. So that opened it up to just
there. That could be a debate, Dan. There we go. We could talk about that for sure. Because
put it on the list.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. No-fault divorce seems great to me, but I don't know. I've never been divorced, so maybe I. But I mean, that's 6-month waiting period. Look, they only have like a 5-day waiting period for a gun.
I don't like that either.
Well, you're right. So why do we need? So you have domestic abuse, let's say, in a relationship. All right, you're gonna make them wait 6 months. Somebody wants to move on. They have children. They want to move on from an abusive relationship. They've probably gone to a battered women's shelter. Not saying that it's only men that abuse, people. But look, I'm just saying, you have a domestic situation and you're going to make them wait 6 months. And during that time, they can lob all sorts of BS at you. They can gaslight you. They can, they can further use the system as a means, as a bully pulpit. That's, Dan, I've heard a lot of dumb things over the last few days alone, many of them in the comments section of my own videos. But that's outrageously stupid.
Well, I'm glad I could share that with you, Michael.
I'm actually, I feel dumber for having heard that. I don't know. I might consider LSD to hopefully get rid of that from my brain. I haven't ever tried it, but this might be the one time that I do.
I don't think that's how LSD works, Michael. But give it a try.
I'll just hallucinate about spiders or something. I don't.
And
the walls are melting.
And just realized that we didn't have our names up. There we go.
Oh, there I am.
Yes. Now you know who you are.
I forgot who I was. Which one of you is which?
Well, keep talking. I'm looking something up now.
Okay. Well, anyway, I don't know. I one of these days, maybe on Sidebar, we'll have to, for one of those year-end things where they always do countdowns, we should do the dumbest laws or the 5 or the 3, or each one of us brings, something that's like the list of the dumbest things, the dumbest laws or the dumbest, just whatever statutes that are out there. Because, I mean, right? Not spoiler alert, but Casey Kasem, that's my number one right there. Oh,
okay. I have data for you since we went down that line. So I told you about Michigan. It's 180 days if there's children, 60 days if there's not. Oklahoma, there is no mandatory waiting period if there are not minor children, but if there are, you have to wait 90 days. Tennessee, it's 60 days, but if you have a minor children, it's extended to 90. Virginia is a little more vague. They seem to leave it up to the judge. It is anywhere from 6 to 12 months. In Louisiana, if you don't have children, it's 180 days. If you do have children, it's a year.
Wow. Wait, if you don't have children, it's 180 days? You can't just be like, all right, see you later?
Yes,
You have to
sir.
wait 6 months. Well, maybe
That's
what
a
they're going
tough
to do
year.
is, I can just hear Steve Prater right now. Maybe what you ought to do is just try to get back with her. That way, because maybe it don't matter if she hits you or you hit her.
Yeah.
Oh.
Wisconsin's
Michael.
Wisconsin's is 120 days after service of the divorce papers, but it can take 6 months to finalize everything completely.
Dude.
So we
That's like
sidebarred
a
the
whole
sidebar, but this is an
year.
interesting discussion in and of itself. So.
Well, vaguely, Dan, it does tie in because
This is all the costs of that
look,
time.
Yep.
divorce, and I've never been divorced, but I've
try
had
it.
almost every one of my friends has at least one. I've got a couple that have at least 3. And they tell me each time how expensive it is. And the price tags I have heard are astronomical. Okay, one of my buddies got divorced in the late 90s. And again, he did not have children. And it still cost thousands of dollars in 1998.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's
It's,
back when you could get a candy bar for 50 cents.
yeah.
No.
Or the
No,
crappy ones for like a dime or a quarter.
Yep. No.
Yeah.
Just when it comes to divorce, Michael, don't try it. Don't do it. It's
Yeah. I mean, marriage is
But,
fine. It's that divorce part that sucks.
well, marriage isn't always fine either.
Well, I mean,
You got to get it right. I've done
Yeah.
it wrong and I've done it right.
that's
and
one of
there's
those things where
definitely
you
difference.
even a 500 batting average isn't good.
No, and that's what I've got. I'm not proud of it.
But I'm pro marriage. I like the idea of marriage. I just don't. It's the idea of divorce. So you choose wisely because. But if you have children, but I mean to bring it back seriously though, that is a crazy situation that you'd have to wait
Yeah.
a year. And again, the cost, and we're talking, of course, monetarily cost on this show because that's what this is about, I guess.
Yep.
But there's also a cost mentally. There's a cost to the children. There's a cost to society. These costs, I don't know why it is that I always get all philosophical on these topics, but
It's true though.
but I mean, there really is a broader cost at issue here. And there are some people that just like they can't afford the monetary cost, there's a stress cost to a lot of these things.
And to
Yep.
the children too. Yes.
Well, and especially the children. Look,
Yep.
adults make adult decisions, and sometimes you just have to live with those adult decisions. But the children did not ask for those decisions.
Yep.
And even if it is in their best interest because it's an abusive relationship, yeah, cool. I do get that. And hey, I'm the first to say if they smack you around, leave, get out, don't go back. You're totally justified. You don't owe anybody an explanation.
Yep.
Even so, it still hurts the children. It still is bad because maybe they may not fully grasp what's happening, or it could have some sort of long-lasting implications on them mentally. So, it's one of those things. Again, it's a sidebar to the sidebar, but
Right.
but it's
That's how
not.
we do it here.
But in a way, it's really not. It's
really not,
just
though.
part of the broader conversation, or maybe it's just the deeper dive into the conversation. And God forbid we do that here.
Yep.
So,
And-
new friend of the channel, Daniels Nina says, I'm not sure people really enter marriage today with the intent of having it last forever anyway. I totally agree with that.
Yeah.
They don't think it
Convenience,
through,
maybe.
which is part of, I think, what puts people in a bad financial situation. And then if they get caught up legally and they get caught up in the divorce or whatever, it rips them apart.
You know what I always say? Marriage is one of those things that's so easy to get into, but very hard to get out of.
It's like the
I mean-
Hotel
Hard to get out of,
California.
it's costly.
Yep.
You can check out anytime you like, but you can never leave.
I love that song.
Although, that having but I will say this, especially if you have children, you're forever tied to that person.
Yes.
I mean,
Yeah.
I've been with Beth now way longer than I was with my first wife, but I'm still tied to that first wife through the
Right.
children.
Yep.
Right.
So I'm still aware of what's going on in her life and vice versa, and we still talk every now and then when it comes to the children. Even though our children are adults, there's still things at this point. There's still things that you have to talk about, and
Yep.
you just So from that standpoint, you're right. It is Hotel California.
That was the same way with my parents. They divorced 20-something years ago. Actually, 30-something now, but they talked all the way up until my dad passed a couple years ago.
Yeah.
Wahoo asks if there should be a limit as to how many marriages you can have.
Oh,
Well,
Biblically, that's established, and I've
Yeah.
broken that rule myself. But
yeah.
I think there'll
Yeah.
be some objections to some groups, but yeah, I think so.
perhaps
Yeah.
it
Well,
is.
it's
It is till death do us part.
My rule for people is one, like you get, for me, so here, how it works for me is all my friends, you get one move, you get one, I'll help you move once. And then if you help me, then the counter goes back to zero. Just like a wedding gift, like I'll get you one wedding gift, but you're not going to get any more than that from me until
Oh,
I get married, then, the counter will go back to zero. But it's like, that's, I sort of, in a broad sense there, Dan, I sort of follow the Bible on that. How about that?
Wahoo says, I didn't mean at the same time.
that's what I got from that.
Well, there are some local rules and,
I'm just saying.
certain like FLDS areas where,
Yeah.
that is a little different. But
Yes. Hilarious.
oh, good heavens. So
We have-
Shows where my
so
mind
much-
is today.
We have so much fun here sometimes. We really do.
Yeah. So I think what we've come to the conclusion with is stuff costs too much money.
Yep.
Yes.
It wrecks people if they're in a bad financial situation to get caught up in the system. And
Yes.
it especially sucks if you're like truly not guilty and you're caught up in it. And then on our sidebar to the sidebar, family court is broken. It's ridiculous that there's waiting periods if you've decided to divorce, but maybe divorce itself is broken and you should only get one shot at marriage. Does that pretty much sum it up?
I mean, that's kind of the general idea that certainly the chat has come to, and that I can sort of see that. Especially the waiting period part is really where my central issue is. Oof.
Exactly.
Yeah, I'm surprised you didn't know that one, Michael. You're so knowledgeable about things.
Well,
I rarely find something that breaks you.
that I really didn't know that was a thing, mainly because I guess my parents got divorced, right? I was 14. But it was an amicable divorce. They didn't sit there and go back and forth about it. They, I could go and see my dad anytime. There was no issue. There was never a pitting one against the other. Not to say that they were happy about it. And this wasn't like they didn't like have a big party to celebrate their divorce, but it was a sad time for me, but and my brother too. My brother was 19, but at the same time, I sort of, I get it. I guess if you're going to get divorced, my parents, I'm not saying it was done perfectly, but I will say that they handled it a lot better than most, because, in general, my parents were very reasonable and they knew how to handle themselves and conduct themselves for the betterment of the children. They put their own pride and their own egos aside and decided that it was, if we're going to do this, let's still try to do this in a civil way and not fight about custody and, stupid crap like that. So, in other words, they were adults, Dan.
That's rare.
They were separated technically.
Well, they were separated, and then actually they did the legal separation thing, and then they did the divorce. And the only reason, I think in Arizona at that time, there wasn't a waiting period. I think, and I don't know if there is now, but back then there was not. But they had this
overcomplicated it.
Well, they did. Well, they thought maybe they could reconcile, and so they put their own waiting period in, I think.
That makes sense.
So,
Yes.
Arizona does have a waiting period. 60 days.
All right. Well, 60 days is not much, but
It's a mandatory cooling off. It applies to all divorces, regardless of if there is children or not.
well, that's better than most states.
Not terrible.
No, that is almost reasonable.
Although, in fairness, 60 days is almost just the time it takes for the papers to be processed anyway.
Yeah.
So it's almost a moot point to have a 60-day waiting period. It's kind of,
Yeah. Well,
It's very strange that we live in an era of almost instant gratification, and yet it seems to take longer for things to get filed and processed now than it ever has.
Yep.
But
The
there's your,
digital age was supposed to make it easier for a lot of things, anyway.
right. Well, yeah. I don't know. It goes back to Dan's idea of, maybe we ought to just unplug stuff, or at the very least have a lot of. Dan came up with his laws for how to improve the technology. So,
yeah.
And that's something that you can all see on the pre-show if you're a channel member.
Nice plug there, Michael. Thank you.
Yep.
Yes, become a channel member if you're not already. $2.99 a month. It barely costs you anything. Gets you access to the pre-show, gets you the ability to call in the fourth hour of the live show, gets you a discount in the store, gets you early access to videos, and probably some other stuff I'm missing. So, yeah, do that.
I'm a cheerleader for this channel, Dan. Let it be known. I am unapologetic about it. I not only do I do that here, but on my own channel, I'm always promoting this place. Because
Speaking of which, check out Michael Groff.
Oh, well, thank you, Dan.
Another
That's
plug.
Which
very
I
nice.
believe is linked in the description.
Yes. Yeah. See, it's that's how things go around here.
All right. Now that we're done with all of that stuff, any final thoughts from anybody about this really all over the place discussion we had? But that's the beauty of Sidebar.
It was all over the place, and no, we did not come up with a solution, but a lot of good points were made. I can say for a fact that I think jail and not being able to make bond weakens someone's ability to fight their case.
Yep.
And I rest my case on that.
Case closed. Austin?
Not being able to afford your bail or any of the fees and stuff can definitely affect you and the outcome of both that case and presumably the next few years, if not longer.
Freya, any final thoughts?
Yes, Freya's now up on my lap. She's she always wants to join in. She sat on the desk for most of this show. And now she's walking over toward the other computer. Well, Freya may not have any thoughts, but my thoughts are I will just go with the idea. Yes, as has been suggested, just be born wealthy or somehow come into wealth, and a lot of doors are open for you. Life hack. Or if failing that and we want to actually apply common sense, maybe we try to make a more equitable system where, I know,
Yeah.
utopia, but a more equitable system where maybe the poor and the middle class, when I say poor, I'm really also talking about the middle class, and I want to make that clear. The lower 75% of earners, maybe we just have a system set up to where there's more equity and a better way for people to be able to participate in the system that maybe they get caught up in, whether it's their fault or not.
Maybe that involves the community for once. But that's another sidebar to a sidebar too.
I'm a big proponent of community. I'm just not sure how we get back there. So here's the thing. I'll leave it with this based on what you were saying, Michael.
Yeah.
If you look at most of the rest of the world, we are, as Americans, almost always born into privilege in comparison to everybody else. I think that we have gotten so arrogant and so fat and so lazy and so ridiculous that we've decided to make our lives way harder than it needs to be, which is causing a lot of these problems. If we actually appreciated what we're born into, because if you're born into the United States, even as broken as it is, you've hit the lottery just to start with. In comparison to 90% of the rest of the world. There's a whole lot worse places where you could have been born into. But, you know, like all good things, because we're human beings, we've kind of mucked it up. But what are you going to do?
Yeah.
So on that note, this was a weird but fun discussion, so thank you all.
I really enjoyed it. This was...
And thanks to everybody in the chat, and maybe the next one we discuss the whole no-fault divorce thing. But we'll come up with some kind of topic for Thursday, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. And we'll be back here tomorrow morning on this channel for the morning show, 9 a.m. Eastern, 6 a.m. Pacific, a half an hour early for channel members. I think I got all those times right.
You did.
And yeah. Yay. Okay. We'll see you all next time. Take care. God bless.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Good night.